Welcome. Tonight is Tuesday night. It is the Tile Happy Hour, and we are so excited to see you. I say we because my good friend John Tedesco is in New York City broadcasting with me live. And if you just wandered on tonight, you are in for a treat because you're here with John and I to talk about tile. John, how are you?
I am doing really well. Craig, how you doing?
I'm doing good. And John, success, you are actually broadcasting live on Instagram.
Yes, we have. Every week is always a technical challenge, and it's self-inflicted, Craig, because we could just do a podcast, record it, and put it on Spotify and be in our pajamas. But no, we decided to do a live broadcast on 8 different channels. Right?
That's right. That's right. And tonight we're going to talk about River Rock. And John, I don't know if you obviously you know about River Rock, you know about pebbles, you know about stone mosaics. But man, I am working on a project that I'm actually coming up to your neck of the woods that I'm doing with our team, and it's all about River Rock and how to install it. So tonight I thought we could talk about it a little bit, maybe talk about some designs, talk about some problems. And what's so funny, and I've said this before, anytime I pick a topic, or Mario Solis, who's he's my technical brother, he's in Inwood. He and I talk about things that the team needs to learn. It seems like then there's an avalanche of questions, and this has once again proven true.
True. Well, first of all, Mario is solid. He's a great guy, great team member at the Tile Bar team, and glad to be his colleague. Yeah. So River Rock has its challenges. So let's just fast forward to the design. People love the look, the spa look. I know you have your opinion, may not be the same as everybody else or most people, but in the end, people want it because they want that Zen look. They want that natural look. And that's a good reason to want it. There are challenges to River Rock from an installation perspective.
Gotcha.
That really sometimes don't get the people the result they want. So I'm assuming you're trying to kind of mitigate all that and put people in a place, set them up for success. Yeah.
And here I've heard conflicting arguments about the underfoot feel. Now, follow me here. I've heard there's one camp that says it is the spa feel. You want to feel those pebbles under your feet so you feel like you're walking out of a waterfall. And I if I had tranquil music, I'd play it, and all of this stuff. But then on the other camp, I've heard some people say, stand on it and stand still for 10 minutes and you'll hate it.
Right. Good. Well, okay. So there's different degrees of River Rock also, right? There's
sure. Yeah. And I guess they're mainly talking about those river rocks that are actually rounded, and they have some that are shaved, that are kind of flat. They look like rocks, but they're flat like a floor, normal floor. And then you've got those that are rounded that I get. What do you call that with the foot massage? The shiatsu massage or whatever.
Yeah. Right. Well,
I don't know.
You know what?
I don't have any.
I like river. I don't have any, so I'm in the camp that I think I'd like it. But now that you're mentioning it, if you're in your shower, you're standing up and you want to relax and think about something. If you have these things like, bumping into your feet, it could be kind of a massage pressure, kind of relaxing. Yeah. But do you want that 100% of the time? Like you can't turn it off.
I mean, if you're asking me if I want my feet massaged 100% of the time, I think the answer to that probably is yes. And I want to do a shout out. You've got some people saying hello on Instagram. West Side Tile, what's happening? Would love to, thanks for joining. If you are joining from anywhere around the world, wherever you're watching, we'd love to see you in the comments. I've got screens all around me. I've got 5 screens in front of me right now. And I'm getting comments come in from different platforms. So let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what questions you have about River Rock. Do you hate it? Do you love it? Have you installed it? What issues have come up? All our friends, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and John's finally on Instagram.
That's right. Well, a shout out from me also to Matthew out in Vegas. He's in West Side Tile, right?
California, I
Okay.
think.
He's in Hollywood, or where are you? Exactly. He's got a couple locations. Solid guy, industry person, great company, and I'm glad he's watching.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that's California, not
Yeah,
Carolina.
California. What did I say? Vegas. Sorry, Matthew.
Same thing. I mean, if you've been to one, you've been. I don't know. I've never been to California. I can't say.
Beverly Hills.
But I have some pictures and stuff that we can talk about the River Rock and where to go. But John, kind of give me some history. Where did this come from? I remember the first job that I did it in, but kind of how old is it, and do you know kind of any of the history and where it came from?
My understanding, it's from the rivers in Indonesia. I could be wrong.
Okay.
And there is a company in the U.S. that somewhat takes claim to introducing River Rock to the world, the United States, and that's so. If it's been used in the tile industry informally, I'm sure people have picked up rocks out of rivers and said, "Hey, let's just stick this on the walls and the floors," but kind of like in a mass-produced way, where it's
in a sheet,
put on a sheet, right? And you can actually install it, and you can sell it and offer it. So the history goes back a while, but there was a time where it was everything, right? Everyone wanted River Rock. It was the hottest thing going, and it's peaked for sure. And partially things peak because the tile industry and the stone industry have so many new ideas and new products being offered all the time. Mm-hmm. It's hard to stay number one. There's always something like glass. When glass tile came out, it was all the rage. It's peaked.
Everybody wanted it. Yeah.
Right. But even though it's peaked, it's probably, there's still a lot of it being used. So it's not that it's dropped a lot.
And it still has its place. Yeah. I mean, I think, once you get out of the mainstream, I think you kind of settle into a demographic is the wrong word, but settle into a niche and do that. I remember the first job I did with River Rock, and it was your kind of traditional River Rock, kind of like, kind of similar to this one that I'm showing here, that had the rounded, this I think is flat cut, but ones with the rounded things, and it was not made nearly as well as this. The earlier ones, the sheets were the stones were kind of farther apart. They didn't fit together great, and nobody had installed it before. And we were doing this hospital area, and they wanted all of the curved walls in the waiting reception area to have like a 2-foot band of River Rock. Well, I didn't really know how to install it correctly because I was concerned that the net was going to keep the thin set, because at that point in time, the rocks were not flat on the bottom either. So they were rounded. So you had to have enough thin set or mortar to go through the net and bond to the tile.
Right. So, but not ooze through the top because the surface was not flat. So one way you're trying to make sure there's enough coming underneath, but the problem is it's visible from the top. That's a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. So we did our due diligence, which I suggest everybody does. I made them give us about 10 square feet in a part of the building that was not being used. And I said, we got to test this stuff out. I've never installed it. My installers have never installed it.
Right.
And even the architect said, well, we've never specified it. So we did a couple of, and I had the guys mix up the thin set really thick. I had to mix it up really light, and just try to set it in there. And I remember installing it and grouting it. And after we grouted it, because the rocks were rounded, I said it today on the video I filmed about this. It looked like a pond flat with the alligator heads just kind of popping out. There was more grout than there was River Rock. And so I will say that got the bad taste in my mouth for the River Rock. And I was like, if I can, I'm not going to do this again.
Well, I noticed, look, even though it's a very organic and natural look, it's become more evolved and it's become a little more refined without it changing the look. And what I mean by that is probably what you alluded to, like in the manufacturing process, perhaps they're trying to make the bottoms flat so they could mount it on the netting better. Also, they're offering options like this, which are pretty much flat. So this really isn't protruding. And I'm sure we're going to get into drains, but the biggest challenge, regardless of how it feels on your feet, regardless of how it looks, how much grout, there is a super important topic of how it interacts with the drain. So I really would like you to get into that a little later, but here's a flat version. Also, if everyone notices the, Craig, it's like a puzzle, right? It's interlocking sheets. So when River Rocks first came out, they were pretty much a square sheet. They weren't necessarily interlocking. And it really, one sheet looked beautiful, but then when you put multiple sheets together, it was sometimes you notice the grout lines. Most of the times you would notice the grout lines, so you can like count the sheets. I did a project on Long Island in Roosevelt Field Mall. It's one of the biggest malls in the country, and I provided River Rock for the entrance. You know how there's like a little 2-3 foot area in front of every store to enter when you enter the store,
right? Yep.
And there was like a landing, and I was so excited about this project, even though it was not much square feet, but it was like a high-end store, and it was nice to have my name associated with this project. And I came by, and you can like count 1, 2, 3 sheets, 4, 5, 6 sheets. You could just count the sheets. You could see. So the purpose of River Rock is to make it look like it's all this rocks lying on the ground. You don't want to see sheets. So it was a fail for that reason. And sometimes it's the manufacturing process that really helps that they you know.
This is the one I get a lot of questions, and this is I kind of include this in the same topic because it is a stone. It's not a river rock, but it is a stone that's mounted in a sheet. And we get this question a lot about this material, which is a great material. I've actually installed it a couple times doing a couple different tests, but because it is mounted so tightly, you really got to work to not see the joints.
It's hard, right, Craig?
It's not easy. And that is one of those things that you have to talk with your installer about. If you're a designer and you love this material, and it's a great material, don't get me wrong, you gotta have clear expectations. These don't fit together like a 12 by 12 tile with a 1/4 inch grout joint. It is not that installation. Your installer needs to be very diligent. Also, when you're specifying this, can you imagine this with a color matched grout? Would you even notice that there's an issue?
I was going to bring that up before we dive into that. If you look at the 2 feet, look at his right foot and look at the 4 square feet. That's where we want to be. We want it to look like that, where you can't see the grout joints. So you could argue that this tile is manufactured to the proper specifications and tolerances where that is possible. But I also don't want to put too much blame on the contractor, because sometimes it's easy to put 4 sheets together. Then when you put 6 and 7 and 8, and you have to adjust one, it moves the other. So I could be, mistakenly saying this is manufactured perfectly. Maybe he put those 4 sheets down first. They worked out great. And then when you work out the rest. To mitigate that, if you put a grout that's not white, you won't notice the sheets as much. So I think that would be one of my recommendations to a client, would be to try to get a grout not as stark of a contrast, try to make it blend. And now there's the downside, where if you get a grout, let's say a grout was perfectly matched, someone would argue, well, then you won't even see the little tiles. You still see the tiles.
Absolutely. So this is the exact same tile. Now, obviously it's in a smaller scale, but it's with a color match grout, and this shows kind of what it'll look like. Now, it's not directly down the same angle, but this shows kind of what this tile will look like when you take your time. If you see kind of this area right here, there was a gap there, And I knew that when I installed this. And so I had to actually cut loose those couple of pieces of tile and split the difference. And sometimes that's what you have to do to make sure that your eye is not following that same line. If you can
Right.
just get one or two tiles out of place to break up that line, you don't notice the sheets.
That's why, Craig, you mentioned talking to your contractor. It's easy to say, hey, we have a river rock or we have an interlocking pattern like this, right? This is a herringbone. If you ask your contractor to put it really close, going, yeah, sure, I can do it, whatever. But you really need to test it out, because he doesn't know what he's getting involved until he unpacks it and starts trying it out. So you have to have a conversation ahead of time. You have to think about, make sure he's allocating enough time to do this. Make sure you're putting a grout color that is more blending than less blending. And he really has to work at it. And then what you said, Craig, is sometimes you need to pull a piece, the interlocking piece, up and detach it from the net and shift it over, so it kind of breaks that line where every tile doesn't have to be perfect, but if you have a few of them within that sheet, you know, are kind of fudged a little, you can make it look good. I really think that's the case.
Yeah. I another one to show you. This is another one that it's called the mini pebbles. Have you sold much of those? The
Yes,
or micro pebbles, I think maybe is what it is.
This whole category is just filled with potential challenges.
Yes. And
it
so
really
this is not a
it's not for the timid.
Yeah, it is not for the timid. And so I'm working with this. This is actually, I don't think this is my picture. This is a picture from a client. That these fit together. They are scalloped, and they are made to go together, but yet you've got to do a little extra work to get them to the point where you want them. And the challenging thing about this one is that they're so small, and I'm trying to pull those up off our website, but they are so small, and the sheet is very stiff, and so they don't come off the sheet really easily. It's almost like what you call it, the netting behind it is
it's like
almost
starched.
like a gum material.
It's kind of,
it is.
like a heavily starched shirt. So because the pebbles are so small, they have to change the bonding mechanism to something that's a little more rigid, and it's a little harder of an end result. So it's not easy to pull a little piece out. And I'd also mention that on some of the website pitches, and I've called this out to specifiers, that if you look at some of the pictures of products, you can see the sheets sometimes, and you have to manage expectations. You really need to, the clients need to know.
And that's
that.
what I was and I if you see it at the kind of the bottom corner, you can see that scallop coming up and down. So that's a sheet line there. And that is an expectation of the material, and making that happen. Now, John, do you have an idea how an installer could make that go away a little bit?
Well, on bigger pebbles, we could talk about loose laying them, pulling them off the sheet. This is absolutely not an option here, right? Because one sheet probably has like 700 pieces of pebbles on it. So and now, this probably not far off, except for getting a grout that blends is little. But we talk about getting a grout that blends, but some of these sheets have light chips and have dark chips. So if you get light grout, it's going to blend with the lighter chips. If you have a dark grout, it's going to blend with the darker chips. So I don't have a solution to that. Do you?
Well, let me give you a couple of tips here. Now, this series, you can see that it's, lack of a better term, call it a scalloped edge. Not sure exactly.
Puzzle, scalloped edge.
Yeah. But if you see, it is pretty consistent. and you can offset it in one direction.
Oh, okay. So if you put a sheet next to it, you don't lock it up. It's hard to explain. You offset it.
Yeah. So you kind of run it on like a brick pattern. I hate it that it automatically zooms in when I do that. But you kind of, instead of setting the first hump in the first corner, you put the first hump in the second one. And what that does is that breaks up that eye line vertically, and you don't you can lose the sheet line, which that's very helpful.
But that has to be tested, right? Someone has to open the box and make sure that that's doable.
Dry
These are
lay.
manufactured to the tolerance where I believe that's possible, but there are some times that may not be the case.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, yeah. Not all river stone and mosaics are where you can offset them, but and that's why we always suggest, John, no matter what tile you have, do a dry lay. Make sure you like what it looks like. Make sure you like the grout joint. And for this, make sure you like it. And one of the things that I tested out, and you're not going to like this, John, is actually space the tile if you want to make it look seamless. Space the tile about an inch apart. Break off some pebbles and fill in the gap in the inch or half an inch gap with the pebbles, and you'll never see the lines. Now that's a lot of extra work, but that's something
I'm not quite sure I'm visualizing that.
So instead of setting it tight together, you normally you want to butt it as tight together. Actually purposefully set it apart.
Okay.
And instead of loose laying the entire floor in, you're only going to loose lay in that little one.
That's gangster.
That is a little gangster, and it's time consuming, but
it is.
These are the things you got to kind of think about when you're looking at doing a river rock installation or a stone installation like that.
I think the most important thing when someone's specifying a river rock type of material, it needs to be brought to their attention that there are pitfalls with this category of product. Mm-hmm. The heights of the material varies, the interlocking nature, the big chips, the small chips, depending on which one you get. And they need to have a conversation with their installer and say, hey, I have river rock. I don't want to see the lines, which I'm assuming people don't want to see the grout lines between the sheets.
Right.
Let's talk about this. And because the worst thing that can happen is, let's say the product is manufactured to really good tolerances, but the installer is kind of mediocre in skill set. He could easily blame the material. He can call you and say, look at this, and trying
and
to
that's what
material.
happens most of the time.
Yeah.
Here is this is my attempt at setting this material.
I just realized we have no alcohol, Craig.
I don't even bring a cup up here. I don't know what I was doing before you called and said your computer wasn't working. So I wanted to take this material and give it a shot. So right here, you can see there's 3 different sheets here. And just like you said earlier, I used the same notch trowel across the whole thing, but there are some differences in height. The height differences are noticeable, especially if you're walking across this floor. Now, is it a trip hazard? No, it's not a trip hazard, but you do notice it, and these are butt pretty tight together. This was my installation where I butt it tight together and I offset one sheet, and so you can see where it's offset. If you see my cursor there, but you can obviously see there's the other joint, and it's really tight here, and it's not so tight here.
And meanwhile, if a contractor is installing this, you have to worry about the thin set beneath it and thin set coming through and thin set on your hands.
Yeah,
it's a challenge. And like I said before, it's not for the timid. If you want the river rock look, that spa look, that zen look, you can definitely have it, and you should get it. But don't expect to start bargaining with your contractor. Hey, it's only 12 square feet of shower floor. And the guy's like, he's thinking he's spending like 3/4 of the day doing that floor.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
you have to you have to throw some money at it to do it for sure.
Yep. Yep. And yeah, don't expect the to get the super duper dollar a square foot price on that.
Yeah,
Material.
it's a lot of labor. It's just time consuming. It's like a contractor that's doing a backsplash in whatever material. It used to be extremely popular to do like a feature box behind a stove. You have a stove and you have a frame and you have mosaics and you have diagonal herringbones and you have very contracted to install those feature boxes, and that could take almost a whole day. They literally lay it out, how they're going to center it, top and bottom, left to right, and it's only like a few square feet, and it's taking him the whole day, and rightly so. So don't expect to be charged by the square foot for that.
That's right.
Be charged
I had I had a client reach out the other week, and it kind of went up the chain. It was one of those things that there was an issue, and they said, well, is my contractor charging me the right price? And after somebody had done the math before they gotten to me, and they're like, he's charging me $40 a square foot. And I was like, I mean, that's not Raleigh prices. That I don't even know if that's New York prices. And so I started asking questions and doing the math on the side. And I'm like, listen, I said, knowing what I know, the most I can get out of this is, even with demo, like $25 a square foot. Well, then they said, well, it's only 13 square feet. And I'm like, well, that's the reason,
right.
You got to take into account that if you're doing 1,000 square feet, yes, you can get a bargain labor number, but when you knock that same material down to 10 or 12 square feet, there's some work you just can't cut the time out of.
Craig, I've designed hundreds and hundreds of backsplashes that the material, my average backsplash was around $2,200 in material. So we're talking a handmade ceramic tile with a feature box with inserts, all this stuff. And so let's say it's $2,000. There was a few go-to installers. One of them was actually following our show once. And his average price to the consumer was around $1,500 in labor for that backsplash, around 40 square feet, maybe 30 to 40 square feet with the feature box. But he can do your whole living room in that same time.
Yeah, for the same price. Yeah. That was kind of, I think down here, the last backsplash I did, I used to tell my wife, I said, we ain't cranking up the truck for less than $1,200.
Right.
So, because you got to think there's some labor you just can't cut out. You're still going to have two people there.
Right.
It's still going to take you 2 days, no matter how big it is. It's still going to take you 2 days. And and then when you start adding in tiles with some complexity to them, like these river rock or stone tiles, then you've got other things to issue. Then you may have a backsplash that's only 40 square feet that takes a setter and a helper a week to put in because you want it to look right. And I forget the meme that's out there. Do you want it cheap? You can get it 3 ways.
You can't. No, you can't get all 3. You can only pick 2. Right.
That's right.
If you want fast, you can't get cheap. If you want cheap, I'm messing it up, but it's you can only get 2 out of 3.
That's right. And so that absolutely holds true in the tile and stone.
This is true. Hey, this is the Tile Happy Hour. My name is John Tedisco. It is my cohort and co-host Craig Cahoon. This is the Tile Happy Hour that's broadcast live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. coming into your living room. We're on multiple channels. Craig, where are we broadcasting tonight?
Currently broadcasting on Facebook groups, my Instagram, which is the Tile Nerd Army, and John's Instagram, X, which I don't think either of us ever talk with anybody on X, but we're there.
It's there.
And my favorite platform is both of our YouTube channels, the Tile channel and Tile the World.
One more.
LinkedIn.
Yes. Yeah,
And John,
LinkedIn.
I will say you do a great job at LinkedIn. You get a ton of traffic and a ton of feedback. So I need to get some LinkedIn advice from you. Mine is not nearly that active.
Yeah, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an amazing platform. We talk about social media, and YouTube is super important because of it's a search engine, right? And things live there. So YouTube is sometimes overlooked. YouTube's a great place. And Instagram is real popular with designers and people in the design world and contractor because it's very visual. If you're a contractor, you want to show a before and after picture.
Yeah.
There's so many businesses that no longer have websites, period. They just have an Instagram page. They go to a client's house and the client says, "Oh, I want to install this River Rock." He's like, "Hold on a second." Goes to their cell phone, goes to their Instagram and starts feeding back. "See, I did this job. I did that job. I did that job. I did that job. I hired someone wants to detail a car that needed detailing." And he's like, "Hold on a second." He goes to he's like, "Okay, I did this. I do this." And so it's really just, because remember the good old days when websites, you had to hire a website guy and it cost you $2,000. You want to change something, he's like, "Okay, we'll have a meeting," and
that's right.
It takes 6
now
months.
You just do it and
do it live.
Just get AI to write everything and just upload it.
AI is freaking me out. Did you see that article or story about the guy who created his own AI image? I don't know what's called, a clone. And then he held a session where he interviewed himself. So he implemented this AI technology. I didn't watch it, but I heard it was a riot. And so he interviewed his AI self, and there was a interview back and forth.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I'm a little scared because
I downloaded, or I bought an AI program to help me with something I was working on. And just because some of the things that I do, some of the teaching things that I create for our team, I can't find the right picture. Maybe I want a picture of a mop on a white floor in a lobby. And so and I was like, well, crap, I'm going to try this. So I bought Da Vinci, I think is the
that's
thing
of images, right?
Yep. And so and then I got stuck in a rabbit hole of just typing crap in.
Doesn't it create it for you? Da Vinci creates?
So you type in what you want, and it will. I mean, we can pull it up. We can do it live online.
Let's do it.
and so I was doing a movement joint thing, and I wanted to have a big open. So I did. I put in the parameters, and it was great. Now, some things, the details, if you zoom in a lot, you can really
weird,
kind
right?
of see that. It's messing up some stuff. I did like a kitchen, and I said I wanted a traditional kitchen and gray cabinets, XYZ with tile. And so I had to do it, and then I started zooming in, and none of the tile kind of matched up, and you can get lost in it. I will say that.
Yeah. Well, what's really scary is how it just feeds on itself, where technology used to be, hey, remember 10 years ago, it used to be this. So 20 years ago, it used to be that. Once AI kicks in, it's cutting years and years into like months and then days and hours. And it's just, and if you notice, Craig, it's being integrated into everything. Like you're on your Gmail. Now it's asking you, do you want it to help you write a response? It's in some of the office programs. I think if you're in some of these office programs, Word or Outlook, whatever, it'll automatically. Yeah, I think I was on Outlook something, and I was typing something. And I accidentally clicked like have AI help me or something, and it started like writing something for me, and it's really crazy.
It is crazy. Let's do one.
Yeah,
you've never done it before, so
no.
So all right, what do we want to look at? We've really gone off the rails here.
It's okay. Well, remember, we were talking about pebbles for an hour, so we have time to talk about Da Vinci. So what we want is we want to show a red car driving over blue tiles.
Red car driving over blue tiles.
It's the first thing that came to my mind.
Just, hey, that's
damn.
There you go.
That's crazy shit. That is insane.
Yeah. It's nuts. It is a red
It's
car
actually
driving
pretty cool.
over blue tiles on the Brooklyn.
You can do it.
Bridge in front of tile bar. Is that spelled Brooklyn wrong? Yeah.
No, you got it. That last one with in front of tile bar.
I don't know.
No way. That's gonna figure that out. All right, we got everything but the tile bar.
Yeah.
Wow.
But look at that Brooklyn Bridge. Everybody talks about that shot, and look at the tiles on the thing. I tell you, AI is so.
This is scary.
It is scary, and I put in.
This is fun. We should have a whole show where people just message in what they want to see.
Tedesco.
John Tedesco running to work in New York City.
Tile in a showroom in NYC.
All right, if it finds my picture, I'm cashing out here. that would be scary. All right,
there you are. That is a fancy tile showroom. I will.
You know what? It had that obscure person, so it could say that's John. You can't see his face, but that's John.
It is crazy because you could do.
How much does this program cost?
I can't remember. I bought a year subscription. I want to say it was like $130.
Yeah, they're all that.
In a New York City showroom.
I mean, that's pretty detailed there, Craig. You got a little crazy.
Lights with a lot of white tiles on display.
If it gets any of this right, I'll be amazed.
The more data you give it, the better it does. Yeah.
Oh.
But look at the tile patterns. That's what I.
Right, well,
and John, you've lost some weight.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, today, looking pretty trim there. I did wear a white shirt today and blue slacks, so I don't know how it did that.
Let's see, close up of Willie Nelson.
What's going on?
Let's see, there's Willie Nelson selling tile.
Oh, that is cool.
It's amazing, and like you said, for using some of the things that I need, let's go to our subject tonight. Close up of pebble tiles installed in a spa with a rainforest theme.
All right.
Oh, I gotta hit generate. I don't know if those aren't really pebble tiles, but there's your spa theme. But you're right. AI, you can do anything with. I've been trying to think about about the tile happy hour and how to create some assets for it, and so I spent, I don't know, Saturday I was just typing in, if the tile happy hour had a logo, what was the logo? Trying to come up with stuff, and then then it got really sad. I asked AI, the Gemini, who's Google's AI. I asked AI how to.
Wait, did you say to be your friend?
No, I asked it how to ask AI to get a better picture. So I was asking it to give me directions on how to get a better picture from AI. I don't know. It's total nuts.
No,
Total nuts.
and we were talking about social. I guess we got onto this because we were talking about social media, and we were talking about that article where it was advisable to ask AI about your business if you want to. What was it? Oh, ask AI like 20 things for your business. Ask me questions about my business that would help me generate blog post, social media post.
You sent me that.
Yeah.
And I actually did that because I was working on, I don't remember what I was working on, but what I did is I use Gemini, which is Google's AI.
What
it's
happened
like
to Bard? You broke up with Bard?
I broke up with Bard. Well, no, Bard. This is the new generation of Bard.
Oh,
it changed to Gemini.
It's called Gemini. Okay.
Yeah, and so I said, well, I'm going to use John's thing. So I took all those questions or all that whole data, and I put it in there and tweaked it to what I was trying to get out of it. And I can't remember now. I don't know if I was writing a technical data sheet or whatever. And it helped me. It really gave me better information. And that's the whole thing with AI. It's only going to give you something that relates to what you gave it. So, and that's, a lot of times I get frustrated and it's just like, give me a picture of a dog, and
well, even people that get writer's block, right? I tend to like to write things. So I don't get writer's block as much as I'll get block about something else I need to do, something technical. And it really helps people. I just don't know where we're going to be a year from now, 2 years from now.
Oh yeah. Who knows?
It's really amazing. And have you seen those they're building robots I saw in China where that look like people, and then they have AI technology and you can ask it a question and it can answer. And I saw videos of drive-through. I haven't gone to a drive-through lately, but I think it was Wendy's. I forget what it was, where literally it was AI taking your order, and it was very pleasant. They're very nice. It was saying, thank you. Is this all you want? Here's your total. Please drive up. And people were commenting like, hey, they're very polite. They were actually welcoming it.
I can't remember where I was. I think it's the McDonald's by the Inwood office. That the initial contact in the drive-through is not from the building.
Oh, really?
It is somebody. It's somewhere else, and
oh, it's a person, but they're not. But it could be virtual, like from somewhere else.
Yes, it is virtual. And I know that Chick-fil-A's probably got the corner market on it. They're all about the mobile app. If you order on my wife will be driving, we'll be 2 blocks away from Chick-fil-A, and by the time we pull into the Chick-fil-A, it's already ordered and paid for and there. And I think that's what that is in that McDonald's. It's a person. If you've done the mobile app, they just push it through once you get there. I don't know, but that's where it's going. Now, how does that affect the tile industry? I don't think it's going to affect us that much, because there's one thing, as much as we can design on AI and redesign my bathroom and put in what you like, I think there's something about that creativity, that artistic flair that a person's going to have over a computer.
See, here's the difference, Craig. If you're somebody who doesn't have the talent, and you're really not a designer, but you working with AI to help you design something, that's dangerous. If you're a designer and you're just getting that writer's block, let's for lack of a better word, and you want to put it in and ask a question. So, and it will give you some feedback like, aha, yeah. It's more like sometimes it just helps you remember things that maybe you should know. So if you're a professional writer and you ask AI for some help, of course you don't want to, there's that whole topic about plagiarizing, or I don't even know if it's plagiarizing, if it's AI's creating it.
Digital,
but there's a whole, I'm sure there's a lot of discussions. I'm sure there's panel discussions going on today about somewhere in the world about writers using AI. But if you're a professional writer and you need help, you ask for help and it gives you some guidance. And then you could, from a professional standpoint, pick the information you need. If you're a doctor and you're trying to diagnose somebody, maybe you're going to go onto the internet and do a search and aha, yeah, I didn't think of that. But if you're not a doctor, you start diagnosing yourself, that's a problem.
I think that's dangerous. I think where as a writer, it's no different than reading a book that's not yours. Getting inspiration. As a director or an actor or something like that, you're going to spend time watching other people do the things that you do. And that's why we sit here and talk about tile all the time. It's what we do. And the more we talk about it with different people, Allisons of the world and the Keiths of the world, that's where we get inspired to come up with something different. That's where we get inspired to take a chance with the river rock and say, well, it's been around for a while. It's better than it used to be. I'm not giving up on it because I saw John's client do it on this Instagram post. And I think if you're using AI as an inspiration tool, I think it can be good.
Right. So the difference is if you're a writer and you want to read a book or watch a movie and get inspiration, the part where it gets weird, I guess, is that AI is you're inputting information, then it's giving you kind of a finished product, so to speak. So I'm sure it's not ethical to publish that finished product if you're a writer. I guess. I don't know.
I don't know the legality. I do know that I'm not a great writer. You know that because you correct my English all the time. But I do get inspiration from that. I know when I'm writing a description of my video, often I'll take the words that I've said on video, I'll cut and paste those into AI and say, help me summarize this to where it works well. And it'll get me 90% there. And then I've got to go back and do the last 10%.
You know where I find it can be really helpful is you wrote something that's 500 words and you need it in 280 words max.
Yeah.
And so you're giving it all the facts, you're giving it your writing style, your words, your sentences, and you ask it to condense it, or the reverse. You wrote 100 and your essay says 500, so it will expound on that.
Yeah,
so
I think schools are doing. Some of the college students are doing a lot of that, but
I don't know what's going on. So Craig, what's the takeaways with River Rock? Did we scare the hell out of people, or did we give them some useful information?
I hope not. I think the takeaway is it's not a basic installation material.
Right.
If this is your first time, if you're a novice tile installer, don't start with this. It may look great. You may love it. Pay the money and get a professional to do it. If you're a novice tile installer, start with something easy. Start with a 12 by 24 on the floor. Start with a 3 by 6 on the wall. Get there.
2 by 2 mosaic in the shower.
2 by 2 mosaic in the shower. Oh, you wanted to talk about river rocks and showers.
Yeah. So before we wrap the show
only have
up,
a couple minutes.
I think so. Forget about the aesthetic questions, which are real, and the technical things that need to be taken into consideration with the grouting and interlocking. There is one thing that is super critical is when you have a drain in the middle of your shower and the river rock is not the flat river rock, because the flat river rock acts just like a 2 by 2 mosaic. Right. But if it's raised, what are the problems associated with that?
The problems associated with that, it creates puddles. It creates little rivers that run down. When you're doing a shower, the minimum slope is 1/4 inch per foot. When you have a river rock, I suggest you increase that slope to 1/2 inch per foot. What that does is that it's still walkable, no problems there, but it allows the water to move more quickly to the drain, and it doesn't get caught up in between the pebbles and the grout.
I didn't think of that. Okay, so that's one of two issues. The other issue is how the heck you put your drain around, like how does it interact with the metal drain?
You tile up to it as close as you can, and unfortunately, you got a lot of grout around your drain,
Right.
or it shouldn't be grout. It actually should be sealant. But I've seen it done a few different ways. You know, you can cut your rocks and kind of piece the pebbles around it so that you make
taper it up a little.
Yeah. But you know, it's not the easiest.
Right. So if you're doing a river rock job, make sure you talk to your installer about the grout lines between the sheets, and also what's his opinion on how he's going to finish it by the drain. Because the last thing you want him to do is to install it and say, yeah, I knew this was a bad idea from the beginning, so I did the best I could. Then you're not happy with it. Like if you literally buy something, and let's talk about tile bar, you could return something, 365-day return policy. So
yeah,
so have the conversation. Don't be afraid because you bought something, you made that decision consciously, or if you didn't put too much thought into it, or the person who helped you pick it didn't really tell you what to expect or what not to expect. But if you get there and the installers, you got to go with your gut. If he's not telling you, don't worry, we got this, stop and quiz him. And is it money? Sometimes they're like, they can do it, but they allocated 1 hour and it's going to take them 5 hours. So you may say, all right, can you do it? Or are you just saying it's going to take more time? Is that going to cost some more money, which people are afraid to say to a contractor? But the last thing you want to do is install something you're not going to be happy with. This is not wallpaper. The guy's going to leave, and you're going to be miserable to the next 9 years in your house before you move. That's not good. So you're doing this to enjoy your house. So
and do the dry lay.
You backpedal, you know.
Have your contractor lay it out. Show me what the cut's going to look like here. Show me what the cut's going to look like against the wall. And show me what the joints are going to look like. Go in with your eyes wide open. Make sure they do that. I get so frustrated with these clients that say the tile showed up at the house and I got there 2 days later and it was already installed. Well, shame on you. Don't let that happen.
So it is the customer's responsibility to check merchandise for acceptability. I've lived that phrase my entire life. Everybody makes mistakes. You can order a blue tile and the tile company sends a red tile. You're on vacation. The tile guy opens the box. He's like, oh, nice red tile here, installs it. Yep. And then they can easily look at an invoice and say, I ordered blue tile. You shipped red tile. I installed red. Yes. So return it. Oh, we already installed it. Okay, that's a different story because installation is acceptance. Now there is a rule to that. If you install something and it doesn't perform, you install it and later on it's scratching prematurely or it's cracking and you have a claim against how it's performing, that's a whole nother story. But if someone, and I'm not talking tile bar per se, anybody everywhere can make a mistake. And so customer is responsible to check merchandise for acceptability before installation. The homeowner has an obligation, or the end user, whoever's buying it, and the installer has an obligation to the point of, to his opinion, is it suitable for the application? Yeah. So it's not necessarily the installer's job to pick the tile out, but if he sees you putting mother of pearl tile that's like 0.01001 thick, and he wants you to put it on your kitchen floor, he should say, look, I don't think this is durable enough. Like, he should question it.
This is not what you should do.
That's what a professional is. If a surgeon is just about to do a transplant and someone delivers the wrong organ, he's not going to say, oh, this is what's delivered. Let me put it in anyway. We needed a heart. We got a kidney, whatever. And he puts it in. So the professional does have some obligation. So it should be teamwork. That's why you hire a professional. That's why you go to a professional company that sells it. Not even talking tile, could be anything. Could be carpet.
It's a partnership. It really is. I mean, and there are, like you said, there's miscommunications, and And as an installer, he owes you an idea of what's going to happen, and you owe him your expectations. And
it depends where you go to. So if you're going to go to, let me paint the broad brush on like home centers. Home centers, when they first opened up, they hired like 3 tile guys, former tile guys in the tile aisle. They hired carpenters and electricians in the electrical aisle to answer your questions. Now you ask a guy a question, and later you ask him how to do electric work, and later on you learn it's the guy who's just flagging the forklift, and and that's his job. He doesn't know.
All they do is know where things are.
Yeah, barely.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's true.
Sometimes they don't.
Well.
But yeah, River Rock is not your beginner material. It is a great material. It's got a great look. Obviously, if you want to find the best looking River Rock, you can find that at tilebar.com. Anytime, shop 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we'll deliver it right to your house.
And Tile Bar, we talked about the precision. Tile Bar does have the best quality. The tolerances are great. It's not to say they're 100%, because sometimes they can't be, but in that category, we've refined the quality to the point where it's going to set you up for success. You still need a good installer. You still need to have that conversation, and you still need to dry lay it, check it out, talk about it, look at it. But before you install it, make sure it's what you want to do. And then somehow we started talking about AI. As a matter of fact, John Tedisco is on vacation tonight. This is the AI clone of John Tedisco tonight. He's testing it out and want to know if it's been noticed by anybody.
Yeah, well, John Tedesco AI did better than John Tedesco.
Yeah, I'll let him know.
No, wow. What a good conversation about that material category. Like I said, I'm working on a training specifically on that, which kind of got me thinking about it and spurred on the conversation. I don't know how we got to AI.
You know what? It needed to be had. This conversation needed to be had. So we're glad you're listening out there. This is John Tedisco. This is the Tile Happy Hour. Currently, we're on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Who knows? AI might take us over and take over the show and decide to do it at another time, in another place, on another planet. For now,
that's right.
We're on those channels. We're in those platforms. If you want to comment, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know. If you're watching this show on a rerun, on an encore presentation, still let us know. If you have a question, we will get back to you. And hopefully we'll see you next week. This is John Tedisco. I'd like to wish everybody peace, health, and happiness.
Yeah, we love reading your comments, love interacting with you. This community is one to help the industry grow. So put your questions in there and never stop learning together and tile the world.